So, ladies and gentlemen, we are live for episode number 4 of Come Unstuck. Um, Usual hosts here, Richo and Luke. I'm sure it's very good to see us on your Monday evening.
Sure. What
um,
a treat.
just wanted to quickly touch on a post I just posted before about sharing content because I got hit up a couple of times this week suggesting content for us to post. Where I know for us, like we're super grateful that you guys are already interacting and posting, but it'd be really good if like don't be afraid to post stuff. Like just go for it. Like that's what this place is for. Yeah, just go for it. Have fun with it. Wanted to touch on again that point. Like I know like a few of us listen to like Gary Vee and Cohen Ray and stuff, and these guys they often talk about look at your circle of friends and like look at your family members and stuff. And it's like look at the people who are lifting you up. A really good aspect of this group is hopefully if we can grow it to hundreds and thousands of stuff is that you're going to have this huge pool of people that will be constantly like lifting you up. But that's obviously down the track, and hopefully we'll get to that point. But yeah, so don't be afraid to share stuff. Just have a crack, get out there. No one's going to judge you. Like, I mean, if a penguin rolling on a ball motivates you, who knows, it might motivate someone else. So just like have a crack.
Fuck, where did that come from?
I don't know where the penguin thing came from, but I think I was just thinking about it, like when people when they were hitting me up about what like suggesting things to post, I was thinking about it. And I was just like, fuck, like everyone gets motivated by different things, and you just never know. You just never know what's going to motivate people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the dude that loves the penguin on a ball, might find their soulmate also likes, a penguin rolling on a ball or something, get motivated with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. I get the message, yeah.
But yeah, that's like my point behind that anyway.
I like it. Love the passion.
So a big week for me was good first week living here with my sister. It's been very interesting. Got some solid feedback from family member over the weekend, which really made me think a bit more. I've actually had this feedback a couple of times.
What was it?
I reckon one of my biggest strengths is that I have a really good or acute like attention to detail, where I'll see things or I'll observe things that other people might not necessarily pick up on. And like for example, right, I don't know, you might have a mate who's like, I don't know, trying to be healthy and then like says that he's really healthy, but then, I'll go hang out with him and he'll smash a bag of Doritos and a fucking, I don't know, pizza and I don't know, whatever. And then like instinctively in my head, I'm just like, well, there's your issue. Like, you're not actually healthy. Like, and so then I have a tendency to kind of call that out and go, like, you can't classify yourself as healthy if you're going to do something like that. And that's kind of where I think like my weakness comes into play, where it's like, so I jump the gun on that stuff too quickly without actually considering who I'm talking to a lot of the time and how best to kind of frame that stuff up.
Yeah.
So that was the feedback I got. It was just, when, it's all good to kind of observe this sort of stuff, but just the way you communicate it, sometimes you just obviously have to alter it for those different people. And I think it's because when it comes, like, family is like my kryptonite. Like, it's when I'm at work and managing people, I feel like I'm really good at taking all that into consideration and listening and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to family, it's like I think I get a bit frustrated because I feel like I've been, talking this stuff for years and years and years and years and years, and I'm trying to help change and help grow, help people grow, help them grow and stuff. But so it doesn't always work. So that's why my tactic, I think, might be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know.
More, maybe you feel like it's easier to get straight to the point with those people because you've got a solid relationship in place where you should be able to give them that feedback, whereas you'd probably be a bit easier on someone that you're employing or managing, maybe.
Yeah. We've got someone saying hello. I don't know
It's
who.
just me, mate.
Is it you? I can't see who's bloody commenting. Oh, hey, Lukey. So.
How are you, mate? Yeah. On that, when I did a lot of work last year around strengths and some of my strengths and whatnot, and like you say before, they can be you'll mean they're basically your strengths are your greatest weakness as well, because if you overuse them, that's when they become a weakness. And what I sort of learnt is that you can kind of tell when you overuse them, and the word should is basically my trigger word now. If I tell someone that they should do something, or I'm like, you should, or you need to, is like, it always jogs in my memory that like, okay, I'd stop and think like, why am I saying that directly? I'm basically like telling them what they need to do. But they still, people would rather figure it out for themselves and just have your opinion and then form their own decision on how they're going to go about it. So it's been, quite insightful. And then also, asking people why. So if you ask lead a question with a why, you're basically like calling them out on it, and it triggers the negative part of their brain to engage straight away. So a more productive way is to reshape that question and ask what is it about eating Doritos and salted squid and drinking 2 liters of Coke that you find is healthy in your mind, rather than be like, why do you think that's healthy? Like, why do you think you're healthy if you drink Doritos and Coke? And they're like, oh, fuck, mate, I'm fucking gymming 6 days a week, mate, and I eat peas and that's it, and do keto, bro, because it's the latest fad, man. I'm fucking eating fat all week, so I'm healthy as. And you can have a lot more constructive conversation.
Yeah, it's always an interesting one. I feel like I think you and I are very similar in terms of that whole like should stuff. Like I think we've spoken about it before, obviously on the phone and stuff, where it's like we both kind of like when people try to come to us, it's like our reaction is to kind of figure out for example, if someone I had this all the time. I had this with one of my old flatmates, and he was like saying to me, he was venting to me, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, you should do, like, oh, well, if you did this, it'll probably, fix it. Blah. And then I remember, like, eventually he was just like, man, you don't always have to just, like, tell me how to fix it. Like, sometimes I just want to vent. And I was just like, oh, okay, sorry, man.
Yeah. I think guys have a tendency as well to want to fix things, right? Because it's just, like, naturally part of our DNA. But it's not always what people want from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you been, man? How's your week been?
Yeah, good, man. It's been a long day.
Big week.
Had a huge week last week, and then another big one this week coming up. I go on what I call like sprints, where I basically try and pack a whole heap of things into a short few days, and then I'll have like a couple of days where I kind of do nothing, but those sometimes might last for like 2 weeks, and I'll basically like gear myself up for them, and I try and like basically excite myself. So like this Wednesday, for instance, and today was a little bit of an example. And Wednesday I've got a day where it's basically just back-to-back meetings, where I'll basically have the meeting and then get out and then drive to the next one, get in, get out, and then like walk into the meeting. I'll be like probably doing some form of social media, checking if I've got to respond to anything, email, messenger, etc., and just trying to stay on top of those little things. Started using voice so that I'm way more effective with the speed that I can work at, accepting that formality of an email to people that aren't necessarily going to need it too much isn't going to matter. So I'm like using talk to text, and like when I'm on the go, instead of typing out, like thinking, I can only reply to that when I can sit down on my computer. So doing things way more efficiently through my phone. And I think it's been like a really good hack to actually achieve so much more throughout the day. But yeah, today started off 6 a.m., hit the gym. It's pretty shaky. Had a pretty big weekend, so it's my own fault. And so it's probably set me up pretty shit for the start of the week. But the old me would have probably wanted to just try and cancel today. But I just can't really do that. Can't really do that, and so I mean, mentally was strong enough to be like, nah, fuck it, just step up and get through it. So, yeah, so I've had a number of meetings, and then last one was 6 p.m. tonight over a bit of dinner, and then I had to try and get back for this, and then run over time of that. So I was blitzing home, responding to about 10 messages that I had to catch up on in the meantime from just sitting down for that. And I'd sat in the car before going into the meeting to respond to some LinkedIn stuff, and just like it's pretty hard to stay on top of all that stuff, to be honest. But I'm big on, like, if someone shows you their appreciation or time to give you their attention, then you should never disrespect it and try and go back to them wherever possible. And a couple of those messages were basically saying, oh, they'd seen like the video that I did during the week and the go live about working harder and like auditing yourself and actually basically trying to figure out whether you are putting the right amount of effort in or not, and saying how, yeah, appreciates that. It was an awesome video and wish you could show it to 50 staff and whatnot. And that's the sort of stuff that keeps you going. So I don't think you should ever disrespect like a message that someone's taken the time out of their day to give you that, or a comment or feedback or whatever it is. So whilst I can, I'm still trying to manage it, and we'll see how sustainable that is in the long run as my profile develops as such, but something I sort of take a bit of pride in. And yeah, and I was, after I posted that video during the week, I was like, fuck, man, I got fired up in that, and I was like, holy shit, how many times did I swear? But that's also a part of my personality. But it's been cool to see some of the reaction to that. And yeah, I guess my main message of that is that I think it is easy to get sort of comfortable, as Chris said in his post earlier, or like complacent and whatnot, and just like expect all these things. But when you take yourself out of that comfort zone and realize that, and they actually just like realize how grateful you should be that some dude or lady is going to pay you like every week, fortnight, or month the same amount of cash, and like you just fucking turn up and you just wait for the next 2 weeks and they give it to you again, and like, fuck, like I definitely underappreciate it when I had it. And because it's just what happens, that you get a job and you go and do that, and you should expect to be paid. But when you've got to go and try and like earn it for yourself and figure out how do you get people to put money into your bank account, it's a fucking completely different journey. And so I just think that we can get complacent in those roles where we think we deserve it and we're doing a lot for our employers and whatnot. But you've got to remember that at the end of the day, most people are driven by money and greed. And that sounds harsh, but I think it's the reality of it. We're all out here trying to earn a bit of cash, and if you can build the leverage in your role, whatever that is, where your employer can see that the money that you can help them make more money, you start to put yourself in a really powerful position. So that might be in the shape of like, you're going to figure out something that is part of your role that not necessarily anyone in the organization is really good at. And so you're like, sweet, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn how to be really good at that. And then you build the leverage of like, shit, well, they're the only person that knows that. And then suddenly at the table, you've got a lot more bargaining power, and you've got a lot more value. Or you might not be in a role where you're generating revenue, but if you can go, you know what, I think it's bullshit that we book in all these appointments and it wastes all this time and people are calling people back and forth. I find a way to go, we can stop that and we can cut down all that admin, and people can just book directly into the physio system or whatever it might be online through this link and like re-educate people. And all of a sudden over a year, you're like, oh yeah, I saved us $50,000. And then you're building that leverage again. So like things like that, where you can kind of differentiate yourself from the person that just turns up and expects to get their paycheck every regular interval and just do sort of as you're told as such. But I guess at the same time, you have to work in an organization where people are willing to accept and give you that leeway to try and do that. But those are probably a couple of practical ideas that I left out of that rant that I just ripped into midweek in a car park.
No, it was good, mate. I loved it. It was very, very motivating.
Yeah, awesome. And then during the weekend, I caught up with some lads. Some lads a bit younger, and we're having a few beers and whatnot. And started like making a point to try and ask people like what they're sort of struggling with, like what's happening. Because I think as we get older, we generally start to lose touch with dudes that are 10 years younger than us, or even 5 years and whatnot, because things are changing so rapidly. And as like came back to like that pressure that they're feeling around, I think there's a big expectation over here that kind of like you go to school, you go to university, and then you go traveling, or you get like a really good job. And I think we want it all so quickly, and it puts all this false sense of pressure, and then it's all magnified by the fact that you're watching your friends do it on social media, and you're like, oh, holy fuck, they must be rich. They're off like traveling. They got a sick job. They're in this country. Like, how are they doing that? And then you start to question like how you're doing, and whether you're, successful, or what all that stuff means, and whether you need to do it. And it's just like, just puts all this unnecessary pressure on people to do shit that they might not even want to do. And I think like the accounting industry for me, like it's a classic where we kind of get out of uni and it's like, cool, you become a chartered accountant. It's like you got to go to the UK and go on the massive 4-year bender or whatever it is, and then come back and settle down. But like I was never really that into it. I still don't have any like pull to want to go to London or the UK or whatever. I'm just like, oh, like I don't really care. But I did have those years where I was like, man, maybe I need to do it, and I nearly went and did it, but then life basically stopped me. And yeah, and I think it was because I probably wasn't supposed to be going, but it's just, yeah, I think this are those people that are just putting pressure on themselves, and where it's coming from, whether it's coming from yourself internally. You got to like figure that out and just go, you know what, like just chill out. I can do this shit later on in life, or I can do it when I'm ready. Like, who the fuck's going to tell me when I'm ready? You tell yourself. And if people are telling you need to do that, or you need to settle down so you can have a baby in 5 years' time, like fuck that. Do what the fuck you want.
I love it. It's so good, but it's so true. Like, I mean, I'm a very huge advocate right now of just doing whatever the hell like you want. Like, I have this thing like, and like I don't know, like when it comes to like dating and stuff, like guys usually get a bit funny when I don't know the girl has like been with a few guys, where I feel like I kind of have a different view on it, where it's like I'm more attracted to someone who just goes out and does whatever the hell they want, and they're just not worried about all like the opinions of other people and whatever. Like if they're having fun, that's great. Like I think that's the more important thing. That's just one example. Like
yeah, good example.
But it's true. Like it's just like I feel like that's such a topical thing where girls they cop heaps of bull crap because because they might go and have like fool around a bit, and then you've got guys who do it, and it's like they're legends or whatever, and it's like I don't know, it's just I don't know.
Man, I really feel for girls that start to get towards 30, and all that pressure comes on, that like their biological clock's ticking and all of that sort of stuff, and they start getting this pressure from like their friends that have already been married or had kids or whatever, or their like their parents. And yeah, like I mean, I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it feels like to feel like my biological clock is ticking as such, but man, I see it so often. And there's a really interesting situation where I was reading about this dude who got a friend pregnant basically, and she decided to keep it. And she told him that doesn't have to have anything to do with it, but she wants to have a baby, and this has happened, and tough shit. It is what it is. And you're going to get 50% of people are going to sit on both sides of the fence that that's really selfish, based on probably your background. And yeah, I think it's just like it's a crazy situation. I was telling that story to, I mean, personally, like I think, like for me, I think that's not like a healthy way to have a baby, but that's just like my personal opinion. I think everybody makes their own choices, and mine probably comes from a bias of all my mates come from like broken families and whatnot. So I think like, oh, you need to have a really sturdy relationship to then have a child in, but it's not necessarily true either. But I think that's probably where a little bit of that comes from for me. But I told that story, and another girl was like, oh, well, fair enough. I'd do the same. And I'm just like, fuck, So it's a touchy subject to get into. But yeah, and I think a lot of it comes from that pressure of like thinking, well, here's maybe my only chance to have a baby, so I'm going to take it because that's what my body's telling me that I need to do as a woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it just kind of feels like short-sighted, and giving into the pressure of like what you think is your ideal life and whatnot. Like, we've got things now where potentially you could, get some eggs frozen or whatever and buy yourself some more time. And I don't 100% understand how that works and whatnot. But yeah, I think a lot. I like really feel for girls that are sort of getting towards that age and then having that pressure like constantly put on them by their parents and by their peers and by social media and shit, where it's just like, where's your baby? Where's your baby? Where's your engagement ring? And oh yeah, that makes me feel fucking sick, to be honest.
Yeah. Um, I was just thinking, like, when you were saying some of that stuff, when you were talking about the whole, like, the parents and stuff, and like, you're not, you know, your kids coming from like broken homes and that sort of stuff. And it just reminded me of that post that I did the other day, like, and something that Gary Vee was talking about the other day. Like, he watched some video where he's like, he was like saying how his mum was like the best mum ever, and like, gave him heaps of empathy and stuff. Um, but I don't know, I kind of have this view of like, and like it took me a while to kind of pick up on this. Like, it wasn't something that just kind of like, yep, cool, it occurred to me overnight. But like, everything that kind of happens to you in your youth, regardless of your parents stay together or they break up, like it all can be used as like a tool for growth for you. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like whoever's met like me and my siblings, I'm quite different to my brother and my sister, and
yeah,
that was probably most likely my parents, separated when they were quite young, and I had to kind of step up, and like so I had to grow up real quick, and so like I don't know, I had a little bit more independence at a younger age, but that independence helped me kind of get through my career and like just life, and it's just like it even helps me out today. Like there, but the point that I'm trying to make is like no matter what situation you're put in, like don't like hold the grudge against your parents or blame other people. Like you can do it. Like
yeah,
you can get out of it. You can do whatever you want with it. Like
yeah,
um
yeah.
so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, bro, I completely
holy
agree. I think we're so lucky to get to have so many choices in this day and age to actually go like, you can either let your past define you and go, well, you know, like, so what I was saying before, my parents split up at a young age, so does that mean that I think that, well, therefore I should never, you should, you have to be in a really solid relationship to have children. Do I let that affect me, or do I decide like, what, fuck it, like, you let your past, you redefine it yourself and go like, here's how I think it should work, and this is how I'm going to do it, rather than being stuck in like, oh, I'm a victim of my own circumstances, or and I think that's what people find inspiring about, people that might like lose a leg or something, and then they decide to go and run like a
yeah.
marathon. Everyone's like, oh fuck, that's crazy, because they're forced to basically to have that mentality, whereas other people, you've got to try and make that decision because actually you've got it fucking good.
Yeah, like I reckon just being alive right now at this time is we're just extremely lucky. Um,
Yeah, man.
and I don't think like us as our generation stuff don't appreciate it as much as they probably could. Like,
Nah,
like
bro, we're sitting here. You're an Aussie. I'm in New Zealand. We're on
yeah,
fucking live TV and people are watching us and we're just talking shit. Like we'd have a phone conversation. Like, you'd have to used to go into a TV studio and pay like thousands of dollars, and we'd never be able to do this because we would never have to do it. And we'd have this pipe dream to make our own TV show, and we'd be like, "Fuck, bro, we can't do it, man. It's $50,000. We got to commit to 50G to like film it, and then like there's no technology to stream you in from Aussie and shit." And like the internet has leveled all of that stuff, and there's so much opportunity there, and it's
yeah,
fucking exciting, bro. Today, man, I did a LinkedIn post about it. I was at McDonald's and people just were ordering their food off a touch screen. And, and people are like, oh man, robots are gonna fucking take all the jobs. And it's like, get a fucking grip, mate. Like, who's gonna fix the fucking robots? Like, there'll be more jobs,
yeah,
but it's just cool to see like everything's like just like constantly improving, and then all of a sudden those dudes don't have to stand there and take orders for 8 hours and hate their jobs. They get to do something that's more fulfilling. You got the guy that's coming in, it's like, oh, do you need some napkins? Do you need some souvenirs? Like, nah, you're all good, man. He's like, oh, sweet. And then like having little yarns with customers and probably way more fulfilling than just being like, standing there just getting barrage of orders and stuff and pushing it onto a screen.
Yeah.
And the consumer can do it themselves.
To change the
It's
way you
awesome.
look at things, the things you look at
Yeah.
change. Yeah, it's so true. Like the customers that they'd be getting would be the ones who actually want to have a chat to them. It's like making their life easier. Like you don't have to dealing with the cranky people who just like, I don't know, hate life.
Make your life shit and give you their negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we've actually got quite a few viewers. Does anyone have any questions for us, or any topics they want us to kind of like cover?
Che Banger says you guys friggin' rock, keep up the awesome work. Yes, lad.
Oh yeah, what a
back
legend
over there in the necky. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, man, she's been a interesting last week and a big one coming up. I'm actually coming to Sydney this weekend. Are we going to link up?
That was meant to be a surprise. Remember?
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Yeah, maybe it's the following week. Oh man, it's gonna be good.
All good. Yeah. We'll definitely link up this weekend.
Fantastic. Any other learnings over the weekend, mate? Anything else?
I mean, like honestly, my weekend was just freaking. I was behind my computer, just like I had a marketing assignment due today, so I spent my whole weekend doing that. So, apart from the Mother's Day stuff I posted, like that was kind of it for me. Nothing too crazy.
My horse won on Friday. That was a big achievement.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like, you had a big week and stuff. Like, the boys get paid, stuff's going off.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's it's getting hard to stay on top of, but I guess that's part of why I'm working so long and so late and whatnot, is to try and do the things that are actually commercial and making me money and whatnot, so that I can live and eventually move out of home. At about 35 at this rate, but also I'm a big believer in like momentum's hard to get, and when you get it, you've got to really like grasp it and hold on to it because it's fucking easy to lose as well. So we've got that at the moment, and I want to harness that. And so there's some people trying to slow that momentum down. So I'm like, I'm just putting strategy after strategy in place to be like, how can we navigate around this? And it's taking up a lot of time in the headspace and whatnot. But it's good fun. I'm learning so much, and yeah, it was cool to get some success. And it's just funny, like I couldn't watch that race because I was in a meeting with a client, and I just knew that horse would win. I'd seen it. I knew that we'd get those colours racing years ago, and that would pull it off. And so it's exciting, but it's all like ticking the box for me to what's actually coming. And that's going to be, so sometimes I have to actually sit back and reflect and be like, man, that's pretty cool, that's pretty special, and then get the messages and just absorb them and be like, you know what, this is like actually changing some people's lives and views and whatnot on a small scale, but it's having a good impact. But I'm just so much further down the track already with what's actually happening that it's kind of sometimes I can not appreciate what's actually happening in the moment. So it's like a bit of my weakness, I guess, through being so strategic and being so confident and being so certain on some things. But certainly pretty special to get a bit of a victory for the boys and make some things happen that I wanted to for a while.
Yeah, it's sick, man.
Yeah.
We've got a question here. So from Shay, is it Shay or Che? Shay, I'm assuming.
Yeah, bro, Shay. Yeah.
Shay, how would you guys rid your life of negativity? I feel like that's because that's a very broad question. But I think it comes down to kind of like mindset. I mean, I think for me the basis is always mindset. Like, so I said a quote before: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So, like, and that's something that I've thought about for years, and it's actually really helped me. I'd say I reckon I've used that quote for the past 5-6 years, and it's really helped me through a lot of things in life. Um, so if someone comes to you with something negative or something, okay, the best way for me to explain it, right? I mean, say like for example, if you're in a job that you hate at the moment, but you're doing everything you kind of can to get to help yourself grow and whatever, move on. Like the best way to look at it is to be optimistic, I think, and just to know that and trust yourself that you're going to get out of that situation. I think optimism and mindset and like choosing to be positive. Yeah, those are my main, like making that conscious choice of being positive. Like when something sad happens, like I mean, say like when you get out of a relationship, right? Like you might be sad for a little bit, but there's obviously a reason that relationship ended. Like which and then it also leaves you open to meet someone better. And so it's just being optimistic and thinking positively, and just choosing to live a bit more of a positive life. Yeah, Lukey, did you want to
Yeah, it's pretty
chime in or?
simple. Fuck negative people and be self-aware. You rambled, bro. You rambled on for way too long.
I
It's
know,
way simpler than that.
I know. I was like,
So,
I was telling a freaking story there. I was just like, started going on about work and relationships. Like, Jesus Christ, I should have just kept it simple, to the point.
okay, so yeah, it's a quick ramble. Some people are naturally more positive than others, and that's cool. So if you can find someone that's naturally really positive, try and like latch onto them. Like I'm really lucky I have Ben, who's like everything is positive for him. It's his main strength. So just like nothing's ever like really bad, and it's I've now that I've learned that I can leverage off it. Um, but also, like, if you've got negative people in your life, that's probably where the negativity is coming from. And so, like, just fucking sack them. Like, this is a no bullshit story. Like, I know that my mum brings me negativity into my life. And I had to make a conscious decision, like, last year that when I was trying to get shit done, that if it was going to be negative, it was going to affect, like, I become more self aware that that's where I would get frustrated. And if she seemed to be negative, which she may actually just be trying to care, but I would see it as negativity, I'd be like, I can't deal with that. And it would end up with me like having almost like a fallout over each time of being frustrated. So I'd go like, you know what, like I think that conversation is going to go that way. So I'm self aware now that I won't carry that conversation on because it's not going to be for the benefit of the rest of my day because I'm then going to get negative about it. So and just like purely if you hang out with people that are always negative, well, just don't. Like you can't do that. You just can't do it because they'll just drag you down into their shit. And it's like, there's people that are negative and it's just everything's negative. Oh man, fucking petrol just went up. Oh man, some guy chipped my fucking windscreen. Oh man, I just got paid 10 grand more than I did last year. Oh man, my fuck up. I hate that shit. Like I'm just like, sorry, like can't have you in my life, you're gone. But that's pretty extreme. But at the same time, if you hang around too many negative people, you'll get absorbed into feeling that shit. So you've got to cull a few of them, and then at the same time, if you're self-aware of when you feel negative, sit back and go like, why? Like why am I? You choose how you feel. So like, why do I feel negative right now? How can I flip this and be like, there's positive in this? And part of one of the things we've already spoken about is going right end of the day review three things, like review three things from the day that you found positive, write them down and just like make a list on your phone and notes or write them down, whatever you have to do. Draw them on the bloody shower, whatever. Just write them down and it'll trigger your mind to go like three things that are positive. And it's never hard to find three things in a day that have been positive, and you'll be amazed how simple and little those things are. And you start to then build a habit of being more positive rather than being negative.
Beautiful. Straight to the point.
Hopefully that answers the question for Banger there.
But just for anyone out there, if they do want a good story, just hit me up. I'm always available. late night if you need something to put you to sleep.
Let's rewatch from minute 27 through to 30 there. No, nice.
Yeah, I've got to go.
Yeah, you've got dinner.
But cool. Honestly, thanks for everyone who tuned in. and is supporting this and watching this. Honestly, like super grateful. Keep messaging us and commenting and stuff. Like honestly, every time I get a message from someone, I'm just like I'm so wrapped and so stoked that I'm actually it's just like an extra person that I know that I'm reaching, or that we're reaching, and it just makes me feel amazing. Again, like look, if there's something that you find motivating, please share it. This group's for everyone. It's not just for us. Like, you know, let's get this thing moving forward. Like, just be a part of it if you want to be a part of it. Yeah, just don't be afraid. Yeah, cool. Look, any
Fantastic.
final
I
thoughts?
just left sunrises, mate.
I stopped the sunrises.
A little bit of feedback for the boys. I'll try and cut the two S's. The sunrises will become less frequent, and I'll try and do better with my swearing if possible. But it's kind of who I am.
All right.
Brilliant.
Thanks for tuning, guys, and we'll see you all soon.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Look after yourselves.